Hello, everybody. A very warm good afternoon to all of you. We are here to discuss the topic Unlocking the Future, Upskilling for the Age of AI Conversations with our stellar panelists here. The session is sponsored by Aditya Birla Capital. I am Dharshana Ramachandran, Assistant Vice President, New Initiatives at Avtar. I am pleased to have with me Mr. Aseem Gupta, Senior Director, Head of Project Engineering, R1 RCM India, Mr. Anup Kumar, Principal Engineer, Stryker, and Mr. Anand Ganesan, co-founder and Chief Business Officer, Xuriti. A warm welcome to each one of you. Experts in AI say that the pace of progress in artificial intelligence is incredibly fast. It is growing at a pace close to exponential. As we are traveling through this ever-evolving landscape of AI, chatbots have emerged as game changers, changing the way we interact and communicate. As we witness the transformative power of AI conversations, it becomes increasingly vital for individuals to adapt and upskill themselves to leverage this technology effectively. Now, let's listen to our panelists about acquiring the necessary skills and knowledge to thrive in this AI-driven era. Let's move on to question, panelists. So my first question is addressed to Aseem. The Indian Monetary Fund projects that 11% of jobs currently held by women are at a risk of elimination because of technology. This is a higher percentage as compared to men. What are the potential consequences for women professionals if they do not prioritize upskilling and reskilling in the age of AI? Over to you, Aseem.
Okay, thanks, Darshana. Um, it's a very important question, I think, across the board, right? So on an average, almost 11% of the women are at a higher risk of losing their job due to automation as compared to almost like 9% of the men, right? Um, and it's almost like find women jobs have 70% or higher probability of automation. And this is more prevalent for women who are at 40 years and above, women who are in clerical services, sales positions, they are in operations positions, right? Or even on even women who are in higher education, right? As we all know, automation is coming, has entered almost every area, um, uh, and it's taking over some of the basic activities that are more predictable, repeatable in nature. Um, and there are chatbots, there is RPA, that can basically do some of these tasks in a far more efficient and a less error-prone manner, right? So, what really needs to be done is, there can be more opportunities that can be created for women, identifying women who are in positions that can be potentially be taken over by automation, where AI can get in, or robotic process automation can get in, can do like predictable activities. Uh, Women in such areas, they need to be upskilled, or they need to be moved to a different skill where it goes up higher in the value chain. We need to close the gender gap, in leadership positions. So it's very important that women become part of key leadership and management roles, and that allows for growth, from a diversity perspective, um, and then bridge the divide between digital gender, right? Where through public investment, um, you know, there can be there can be jobs that are typically considered as male jobs, that uh, can be handed out to women as well, right? So, so I think that that would be a key focus in the overall um, perspective, right, in the coming years, where we can find women kind of taking more diverse roles, higher roles, and we're really pushing the envelope in terms of building the right skills in the women.
Right, right. That's a really good point you brought out, Aseem, where the moving up in the value chain towards bridging the digital divide. I really like that theme. Thank you for setting that theme up. So now moving to Anup. Anup, we know that there is a degree discrimination that happens, right? Discrimination basis of education qualifications and degrees people carry. So what are the specific skills that you think are most valuable for women professionals to acquire in the AI-driven era? What are the specific skills for women professionals? I repeat, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Dharshana. So it's a very good times we are in, and this very issue of differential in terms of degrees and those kind of accolades, which used to be traditionally relevant,
Correct.
as we go forward with the generative AI coming in, can be a game changer for the very people who are at risk in this way, traditionally. So what I mean by that is, earlier, all these traditional tasks which were routine-based, even programming to a certain extent has some routine component, and every aspect of the product life cycle has a routine component, and also organizational aspect has a routine component. So in that, traditionally, you needed a learning curve to get to a level of expertise, right? Spanning so many years and all that stuff was there. But with the advent of generative AI, specifically, we're talking about LLMs and also the stable vision, stable diffusion kind of models and all that stuff. It makes a job of a beginner level at an intermediate level just by knowing how to prompt. What that means is how to ask the right questions. So just by knowing how to ask the right questions and knowing how to solve a problem in a logical first principle sense is one of the essential skills going forward as we embark into this generative AI space. So it also means how to work with an AI. That is the key skill which is required. And for that, we need to first embrace AI and remove the fear of AI. So educating people and spread awareness of AI. Also, ethical aspect of AI is also an essential understanding which are required. So the entire space of skill will change from just what we know to working with AI and having a higher productivity boost for, if we take Microsoft, all their products are towards productivity boosts. So these are the essential skills which are required beyond, of course, pure technical one. You would need data science and all that traditional stuff that is there. So the people who are at risk are at an advantage because people who have spent years developing these skills could become irrelevant overnight.
Right, right. That's a very good point, Anup. I think while AI can help with writing a code or the script that you want, but what to ask, when to ask, that sort of skill set, I think that the original skill set is what is required. Very good point. Thank you. Thank you for bringing it out, Anup. Now, I think we need to move to Anand, his first opportunity for answering the question. So, Anand, how do you think organizations can create a culture of continuous learning and upskilling to ensure their workforce remains adaptable and competitive in an AI-driven world?
Thank you, Dharshana. So can you hear me properly?
Yes, I can. I can.
Excellent, excellent. So it's a very interesting question. Actually, everybody looks at AI and the pre-AI and post-AI as two different worlds. But in the last 30, 40 years, if you have seen, all of us have gone through such waves, either on the personal front or on the professional front, right? Enterprises have gone through the digitization. And even on our personal front, there was this computer era, then this internet era, then mobile era. All of us moved one step ahead, and it's not like we lost anything, right? We gained a lot, but we didn't lose anything. I do believe this AI wave, this is the first time probably it's hitting the professional life of every individual. There is a subsequent, I mean, maybe the digitization and the introduction of computers, which happened in 20, 25 years ago, people thought many will lose the job, but nothing happened, and there were a lot more productivity. The economical output of every organization increased, and we had more work to do. So I do believe that's going to be the case when we introduce the AI. And what is important, what we have also seen when we went through these waves, especially in America and even in India, it's happening. The organizations which did not, which were not agile, which were not looking ahead and incorporating learning into learning and adapting and moving into this new era, they have all failed, and they are pretty much out of business. There are these new companies which have evolved, and if you look at the formula of all these new companies like Amazon, Google, and all the tech companies, there's quite a bit of effort being given, focus has been given to learning and development for the employees. Then at Google and all, even up to 20% of the bandwidth, even on the during the initial days, bandwidth is given to the employee to figure out what they want. Right. So it is not only, I think this continuous learning has to be part of the strategic objectives of every organization, or else they are going to be not only left behind, they in a medium term they will not be around. So it is not an option in my opinion. Yeah. So people, there has to be a leader. Leadership at leadership level, somebody has to own up and drive this transformation, where AI plays a bigger role in their day-to-day activity.
Correct. That's a very good point, Anand. I think with every technological development, I would say we need to embrace it and work towards it rather than moving away from it. And that's a core point that you have brought in. Now, I think I'll move on to Anup. Anup, we know Stryker has operations across many countries, including Latin America, Middle East, and Africa. There are certain countries, but where upskilling opportunities are limited. How can we ensure inclusivity and equitable access to AI education and training when it comes to women who are as such underrepresented today at the workforce? Your views on this?
Absolutely. Thanks, Dharshana. This particular part, in the emerging economies, when this specifically problem is persistent, and even so, a little bit of underdeveloped economies further. So Africa, for example, specifically a case we take, whether Strikers, they're not a second point, but as in Africa, as a state, if we take, there have been certain organizations who have successfully deployed courses to means of access by online. So virtual and online is an effective means of reaching global with the increasing access of internet available to everyone. And that works well only by working with a public and a private partnership, or working with government to implement right policies to incentivize this investment from organizations onto these platforms, and also enabling them. Another aspect is also the ERGs, employee resource groups kind of setups. You could have internal to the organizations, empowering each and every group specifically. You could have something like women in science and engineering kind of setup for empowering them, and also focusing specifically on their upskilling and facilitating such a conversation between them, which is often lacking in that way. And also a specialized group, which would be like we have Stryker Women's Network across different, championed by different locations, which are also effective way of facilitating a voice. It gives a platform for their voice, and it's important as a step towards it. And also some aspect is sometimes it's like a mental block in the sense. So having women in a leadership role as an exemplifier also motivates people towards it. Sometimes it's just a lack of motivation as well. So if it apply a technology adoption model kind of system with behavioral intention and all those aspects, and study this, you would have an effective methodology to mature such a network, and from step by step for an organization.
Right. Yeah, I think those are like a few quick tips for any company with diverse operations across the world. I mean, those are like real quick tips. Thank you for that, Anup. And I would like to move to Aseem now. Aseem, you are dealing with a multi-generational workforce at R1 RCM. How would you recommend upskilling initiatives to be tailored to meet the needs of different age groups and diverse demographics, ensuring that no one is left behind in the AI revolution?
Yeah, I think, Darshana, that is a very important question, right? As we just heard from the panelists, right? The technology is very fast evolving, right? And it is impacting across the board in each industry. Every job is getting touched by technology, by AI, right? It has become, innate to every job, right? So it becomes very important that we constantly upskill. We create a learning culture within the organization. So like in R1, we have one of our key motto is to have a learning organization, so that we are constantly um, at par or ahead of what the technology trends are, right? um, so and we essentially, and there are various strategies that can be really followed. So we can, a large population that can be addressed is, um, you know I understand what kind of job are they doing, and where does the technology come into their job, right? So if somebody is doing just doing data analysis, right? And as AI models kind of evolve in the data analysis, so can I work with that particular workforce, in upskilling them on data analytics skills, right? Can I teach them Power BI or Tableau, or can I teach them how large data lakes work, right? Probably shift their focus towards data science, right? So and I think it's important that the organizations are constantly thinking ahead. They're looking at their skill matrix and just mapping it back to where AI and technology is kind of going.
Yeah, I really like that role-wise focus you are bringing to all the questions that I think stays irrespective of what technology we are talking about. That role-wise focus will really help, and thank you for that, Aseem. Now I'll move to Anand. Upskilling often involves a significant investment of time and resources. So you, as a chief business officer, you might be guiding your team on how to assess the ROI of various upskilling efforts. So currently we are talking about upskilling in terms of AI. So how would you guide your team in terms of assessing the ROI of such initiatives?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Assessing ROI is always the hardest part. Especially when you are upskilling. This is more of a, sometimes it could be a hard skill where you could immediately see some improvement in your productivity. Sometimes it could be a soft skill. So I would say, as an organization, I mean, independent of this is an investment where we have to measure over a longer duration. Don't expect something to change upside down in 3 months, 6 months. But all we have to measure is how competitive as an organization we are in the market. That will give us an indicator whether you are internally, whether your organization is right up to the mark or not. You will clearly see the leader evolving in the market. If you end up being a leader, that's a good sign. Right. If you're a laggard, then you know that you have to do a lot of work on the back end. So not necessarily, that's why I don't look inward. I mean, outside market will give you more honest feedback rather than your own metrics. That would be my take as a business leader. Yeah.
Good. I really like that thing of being a leader than a laggard. That matters. Of course, market will give you those signals time to time. That's very important to gauge. Thank you for that, Anand. So now I would like to open up the platform to understand any closing remarks on the topic. Just to understand, let's say many women are trying to move from non-technology backgrounds to technology ones, right? It can be AI, analytics, or any of that. So what would be your quick tips or your advice to them for these women candidates who are like trying to move to technology at some point of time? Because technology is the future, that is a known thing. So what would be your quick tips to them? I would like views from all three of you. So I will start with Anand himself, and then we'll move on to Aseem and Anup.
I would say, I mean, don't worry too much about it. I mean, it's as I kept saying, this is a new wave. I don't see it as a problem. I see it as an opportunity. So you have a lot more opportunities opening up, and be ready for it. Be open, and the important thing is you need to learn. You need to adapt. Yeah. And learning doesn't happen very quickly. I mean, you need to be persistent till it becomes your habit. So those are the main I would say key points people have to keep in mind when we go through this evolution. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks for that, Anand. Now moving to you, Anup.
Yeah. Thank you, Dharshana. So one key aspect also is whether you're comfortable with the organization's view as well, while you're trying to move from a non-technology to the technology background as well. Like you would pick an organization where you want to work with and you want to join them. But this is kind of like similar can be applied for a back to work kind of setup, which is specifically an issue when it comes to women for employees, and it needs to be supported in that way. So you try to explore opportunities in organizations which can support that, one, and also explore technologies with which you can accelerate your learning, especially with the advent of generative AI. It becomes even more easier. You can cover a lot of ground in a shorter time, and you can ask the right question. It's like talking to an expert and getting the information quickly, and also get a sense of the different landscape, the tool chains which are there. And if the minimum thing should be how you can use an LLM kind of technology chained with other things as a system, and you can do a lot more at par with an average engineer as of today. So with that technology, if you just master very basic thing without any background of programming and other things, you'll be able to do a lot more. And the similar thing is with the image aspect, image edits and those kind of things. So you just learn generative AI and how to use it and how to leverage it. You're gonna get farther than any average person in a shorter time.
Right. Agree. Now moving on to you, Aseem.
I think I'll just try and piggyback on what Anand and Anup have said, right? So change is a constant, right? I mean, things have changed, right from, we've all heard things have changed from just doing math on paper to calculators to, introduction of computers to AI, right? So I don't think it's something which should be considered as scary, and how do we kind of adapt to it? It's more about just embracing the change. It's important that we all look at our core skills, right, and then see how do we kind of push ourselves. It's human nature that we kind of fall into a comfortable position, and then the learning kind of slows down, right? So I think we should just take this as an opportunity where we kind of figure out how do I kind of learn and adapt technology, right? It's when we talk about technology, it need not be that, I have to go back into programming, right? Or not go back, but essentially learn programming, right? But it can be, I have a particular skill, there is technology that is at play, like what Anup said, large learning models. And generative AI, I think some of these are coming into our daily lives, and it's about, just understanding how do I kind of adapt the technology, right? And be more technology focused. And, nothing kind of replaces human brain, right? I mean, so we just need to be aware that here is what technology can do for me, but then on top of it, here is what I can just add, right? Here is what my value is. So it's just about, just adapting and not fighting with it.
Okay. So I want to ask another question. While I said it was the last question, there is one question that came up when you all were speaking. So many of you would have seen women on career breaks, right? It can be someone in your family or someone at workplace. So how would you ensure that the upskilling efforts align with the specific needs and demands of industries, just to avoid a one-size-fits-all approach? So they are coming into some industry. So how do we customize or tailor it for them? So these are women on career break, they want to come back to jobs. So how do we ensure that it meets the specific needs and demands of particular industries? So just all of you can share your views on that.
I think it has to be, like in our one, right? What we try and do is we create programs. I think there has to be more organizational focus rather than individual focus, right? Uh, where there can be programs that are very specifically aligned to the industry that they work in. Like, so what we do in healthcare, specifically around RCM. So we have programs where we will have training sessions, we will have more technology adoption sessions, right? There is special consideration that is given to returning mothers, women who have been on breaks, right? Just more lenient, more focused attention that needs to be given at an organization level.
Right. And anyway, we are living in a attention deficit economy. So I mean that's like the key point. Thanks for capturing that, Aseem. And Anup, Anand, any specific points on this? How do we align to the needs and demands of specific industry and avoid a one-size-fits-all approach?
Yes, childcare specifically has to be a support system for childcare, which is a key thing. Playgrounds and specific needs, which women coming back to work after career breaks due to pregnancy kind of things and stuff.
Right.
And that is an essential part. Also, career breaks cause break in skill because of the pace as well at times. So ramping up with a dedicated plan like we panelists have mentioned earlier as well. And so we have something similar, which is in partnership with other industrial folks as well. So which is a dedicated program for very much employees coming back and specifically focused for women as well. So it's essential, like the panelists said, to have it at an organization level and a move and a intent to get it delivered. That is important.
Right. Yeah. I think you hit the bullseye with that point, intent to get it delivered. So that's brilliant, Anup. And Anand, any points on this one, this particular question, specific needs and demands for industries?
I think I think especially in the context what you mentioned, women who are taking a career break and coming back, and there is going to be an induction program, and that induction program is going to be a lot more. It's trying to bridge the gap, right, between what she comes with and where she has to be. So it becomes a lot easier, in my opinion, compared to people who are continuously working and where they don't have a. In my opinion, this is more of a easier scenario to adapt the learning process towards whatever is required.
Correct. Got it. That's a good point. Anand. So I just want to continue there. So have you seen any successful examples from your organization or any of the organization regarding upskilling for AI adoption? So have you seen AI adoption like drastically influencing how we deploy initiatives in organization? And would you like to share some examples in your organization or anything you have seen around you? So just wanted to seek your points there.
Maybe I'll take that question first, right? What I've seen in the last, we've been building AI systems, but not necessarily using it as much as we should do for our productivity and decision making. And but what we are seeing in the last 1 year, many of our operations team, and one is, as I think Anup mentioned, all of a sudden the specialized skills have become, you're becoming a superhero. You can do Python scripts, you can do Excel formulas. The best guys in the world you can do that. So the question to me is a lot more interesting question to me is, given you can have all these skills with a click of a button, what can you do for the organization? What kind of value creation you can do that will impact the organization? I think that is where, in my opinion, people may fail easily, aligning where what the organization wants, and all you have acquired these new skills. Apart from upskilling, I think it is also important as a what is happening in this is your the routine works are getting
Right.
done, and then now you need to use a lot more to your cognitive power to do things. So you are moving more towards a leadership role as an individual in the company, rather than doing the regular routine, managing the routine work, right? So I think that personally everybody has to evolve, and we have seen that happen in our company, where people are a lot more productive as an individual. The experts are gone and everybody is an expert. So it's a very different picture compared to a year ago or even before ChatGPT came. Yeah.
Right, right. I really like that point. I'm just taking it from there, and this is a question to Anup. See, many of them, in some cases, what happens is upskilling may not be sufficient, and reskilling could be necessary. It's not like nice to have; it's a must-have. Okay, but how does women employees who are listening to us? So there are many candidates who are listening to us. How do they know that when is the right time for them to invest in reskilling, and what are the resources available for such transition? So this is a question to you, Anup. So it's more like I need to do, but when is the time? For how can I identify that?
Okay, the technology at this current pace, even a day is too much. There is so much evolving things which is going on. So the time is now. There is no time wasting. At the same time, also not to get overburdened with all the things which are released, the research which is released. We need to be cognizant and focus on what is essential from a basics, like you mentioned. That is essential, because it is very easy to get lost in this.
Right.
So much information which is there. So what that means is you find the right legitimate resource and stick to it, one resource, and fine tune your area, identify your area, and focus and develop a plan, of course, mid to short, and go with that and steadily. So identifying the area, you need to talk to someone, of course, an expert, have a industry assessment, what's working, what's not, and what's current. And that is also dynamic in the sense. So have it in a way that you are positioned for the future with upcoming technology, but don't go with the hype per se.
Right, right.
Wait for the hype to settle. Every hype has a scary phase. Then as it plateaus, it changes its form. So as it changes its form, don't go with the high or the cutting edge per se. Go with the what is the underlining thing which is going on, and learn from that and stick to it. So basically, prompt engineering would be the best thing you can learn right now, and it will get you far.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. Since we are having very interesting conversation, I'm keeping on asking questions. So this is a promise. Last three questions, and you can keep it short. But these are important questions to address on this topic. So that's why we are taking it. So Aseem, this is a question to you. As a business leader, do you think there are certain policy level initiatives that can be implemented to support women in upskilling for AI? So for your organization or any other organization, what would you recommend as a policy level initiative to support women in upskilling for AI?
Okay. So at a policy level, um, one of the one of the key things, or I think it's less about policy, it's more about the culture. Be quite honest, right, Darshana? Because policy will only take you
Yeah,
that far, right?
yeah,
uh, I think, like I mentioned earlier, right, creating a learning organization is a culture that we need to inculcate, right? Um, and like we have discussed, right, so much that AI has become, a very integral part of everything that we do,
right,
right, across industries, right? So, culturally, we need to just create that environment, a conducive environment where people at different expertise level can skill themselves, right? And there's a constant skilling requirement that we have. Um, the technology is changing so fast. There are so many new things that are coming in on a daily basis that just being up to date becomes very right. So having a very structured, well designed, well thought through program, and ensuring that there's a conducive environment for people to go in where they can take some time away from work, or creating sponsorship programs, right? Or having in-house trainings, having online courses, right? Ensuring that there are tools available at disposal, um, and also building it as part of your. So one of the things that we also do in our organization is we build it as part of our goals, right? So there are certain goals that we set for every individual, right? Where certain technologies have to be learned or something has to be learned that becomes very relevant to their day-to-day job. So I think it kind of all of it kind of creates that culture, enablement of learning, ensuring that learning is encouraged. I think that kind of is more important than probably this policy.
Okay, that's a good one. So I have last two very short questions, and I want you to answer only with a word or a sentence at max. That's it. Okay. So one question is, what is a soft skill that you feel every women professional should possess in this AI-driven world? And it need not be women professional, every professional. What is a soft skill that you feel, soft or behavioral skill, we can say? What do you recommend? One word or one sentence from each one of you. So we'll start with Aseem.
Okay. Understanding data.
Okay. Okay. Good one. Yes. Okay. Now let's move on to Anu.
Prompting.
Pardon?
Prompting.
Prompting. Okay. Prompting. Okay. And Anand?
I think it's more of a behavioral trait, persistence and learning. It's
Okay.
important.
Good one, good one. Okay. And this is my last question for all of you. So how can we ensure that women professionals are adequately represented and encouraged to upskill in the age of AI? So how can we ensure that women professionals are adequately represented and encouraged to upskill in the age of AI? So similarly, one sentence max from each one of you. Now we'll start with Anand.
I still think this AI world is going to be very gender agnostic, so you don't have to really worry about it.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. Okay. Anup, over to you.
Apply your strengths to it.
Okay. 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 And Aseem?
So I think be progressive, be looking for growth, right? Personal and professional growth.
Right, right, right. So I think, see, it's very clear from our panelists that upskilling is vital for professionals to thrive in this transformative era. That's a clear statement and message that came from here. And for women professionals, upskilling in AI can be a great leveler and can provide them career avenues to excel. You may also avail numerous online resources like the ones we discussed here, as well as the ones available in myAvtar platform for self-directed learning. We host webinars for upskilling and reskilling almost every fortnight. On this note, I would sincerely like to thank our panelists for their time and great inputs on the importance of upskilling in the AI era. Thank you once again so much. Thank you so much, Aseem, Anand, and Anup. As we sign off, let's close with a wonderful quote. Some people call this artificial intelligence, but the reality is this is also a technology and this will enhance us. So instead of artificial intelligence, I think let's use this opportunity to augment our own intelligence. Thank you once again. And as we sign off, wishing you a great time at myAvtar Job Fair. Stay tuned for the rest of the sessions. Bye and see you soon.
Thank you, Dharshana.
Thank you.